Okay, guys, we are live. Go ahead, Lee. You're going to be Maureen tonight, Lee.
Well, we miss Maureen tonight. She is with her Princess Tiara crown at Disney World, from what I understand. And so maybe she'll peek in later. But we welcome everybody from all around the world coming to us on this Friday, the 21st of May, 2021, Asea 5, actually the four amigos, I guess. We'll call ourselves the Asea amigos. We have special guests tonight with us, Malcolm Sword from Down Under, and we welcome him, and Leland Duyck from, he's in Oklahoma at his ranch. And so we're glad to have him come. He hails from Dallas, but he has a dual citizenship, I understand. So tonight we're going to tell our stories. We're going to talk a little bit about, why we're all doing this, and especially why we've chosen this vehicle to, be such a blessing for our own lives. I would say, let's start off with Leland. If you could give us your background. I know there's some here who have not seen you or heard of you or know of your story and the powerful testimony that you had with these. If you could just give us your why and your experience, that would be a great way to kick us off.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. Well, a lot of you may know my story, but some may not. And, my background was in orthopedics. I'm an orthopedic physician assistant, worked for 70-something surgeons in 9 hospitals, just firsthand assisting in surgery. I did that for 13 years. But I had that entrepreneur bug to want to do more, and I started developing, designing, and patenting orthopedic braces for sports. And we started off in Dallas. Within a couple of years, we were around the U.S., and then it went internationally. But I've supplied almost all the professional teams around the country, both the NFL, NBA, baseball, winter and summer games. We've had ATP tennis for many years, since 81, and also the Olympic team since 81. And then we've also supplied for the last 11 years all of the veterans hospitals in the U.S., all 156, with their orthopedic products. So, my whole background's been either surgical or on the treatment side with the braces. And it's been a love of mine. I'm also a cattle rancher for 26 years. I have a ranch here in Oklahoma, so I'm back and forth every week. So that's what I've done. And after college, I played college basketball and baseball. Then I went overseas and played a little bit of basketball, and came back to my medical training here in the Dallas area. So a little bit about my past. I'm married. I have 3 children, and they're all out of the house. So my wife, Donna, and I are empty nesters here. But why for me is after working cattle, well, first of all, Terry Latham, my sponsor, he came to me for 2 years talking to me about this business. I didn't study it in med school. I didn't think it was real. I was running 3 companies. I think it's always about timing, or at least it has been with me when I approach other people. We always want to see somebody move forward immediately, but it's not always the right timing for them. And that was the case with me. So for 2 years, I said no. But then after working my ranch all day running cattle, I went back to my home in Dallas, went to bed late one night, and the next morning I got up and my hands were gnarled like this. I couldn't roll over in bed by myself. I couldn't get up. I was hurting all over my body. I was truly scared. I didn't know what happened. I had a thought of what might have happened to me, but I just didn't know. And after being at the hospital, 7 weeks later, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder that really crippled me up in all my extremities, just brought me to my knees. I was going through anti-inflammatories and pain medicine and gluten-free and sugar-free and alcohol-free and colonics and IV treatments, you name it. Western medicine put me through it. And 14 months later, I wasn't any better. And I was very depressed. I couldn't run my businesses. I was hiring people to do things for me, very expensive, going through a lot of money. And I could just see everything I'd worked for going down the tubes. I was very scared. And my friend Terry Latham called me back and he said, don't say no to this. You don't know what you're saying no to. You got to take a look at this. And at that time, I was so desperate, I was willing to take a look at it. And I went and checked it out, and on PubMed, and I saw like 14,600 articles. It gave me hope, to be honest with you. And then I called Terry back and said, let's get a flight. And we went out to the company, and I met with the executive team and went through their plant. And being in manufacturing for 40 years, I figured I was going to prove something. I was going to have to really kind of prove that it wasn't going to help me. I figured if there was something wrong, I'd see the red flags right away. But let me tell you, it did not happen. To see their hearts of the executive team and what they're doing, to see their plant, you could eat off the warehouse floors, FDA, FTC approved plant. I knew when I saw it, there was something special. I was just hoping the product would work for me. And I came back to Dallas, started the product. In the first week, about 80% of my discomfort left my body. Second week, my depression had lifted. And then the third week, my hands opened and closed for the first time in 14 months. I was pretty happy. And it just got better. At 90 days, I come off 3 medications that I'd been on for probably 10 years for high blood and sugar levels and high uric acid levels. And in 9 months, I came off a breathing machine because I snored at night. So, I saw over a period of months, my whole body change. And I knew that I had something powerful. And, with my background in medicine, Lee, I just could not sit still and not share something that was so good with people. I just couldn't sit still and not do it. And I told my wife I was going to test it, and I made a list of 50 people. And I went out to the first 30, and I just went door to door talking with them or calling them and having meetings with them. And they saw me, most of them, when I was, going through my health challenge. When they saw me, they're like, "Wow, you look great. What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just taking this product." And I, showed it to them in person or on the screen, and they're like, "This is amazing." I said, "Well, I know you're going through some challenges yourself. I thought this is something that maybe could help you. I can't promise anything, and it's a supplement. But based on the science that's behind it, you have nothing to lose by trying it. It's 100% toxic. It's native to your body, basically just replenishing your body what your body can't do anymore." And my first 30 people said yes. And my first 30 people I saw get results. And I knew then I found something super powerful. And at that point on, I started getting the checks in from the company, those thank you checks for referring to people. And it grew very quickly and went to a strong 6-figure income in 4.5 months, and triple that in 15 months. And I knew then it was more powerful than my other 3 companies. So I know now what I'm doing through my retirement years. This is my why. Not only did it help me, it's helping thousands of people. And I don't have all the, I'd say the headaches that I had with brick and mortar business. I had 150 employees with one of my companies, 75 with another. The cost of your billings, your rent, your employees, your insurance, your machines, shipping and billing, and all the things that you have to deal with, $1 million inventory. I mean, this business has none of those. And I thought, wow, I wish I'd have found this when I was 30, not 60. But now I know my plan C or plan D with this has now become my plan A. And I actually sold one of my companies last month. I'm phasing another one out where I don't have to be there all the time. And I'm really going to focus on this business and my ranch. Tyler Norton talked about pruning back and focusing better. And I was running 3 or 4 companies and trying to do it. And there was a lot of distractions. I could have probably done a lot better if I hadn't had those in place. But now I'm making some changes, and this year's going to be a much better year for me.
That's a powerful story. I've heard that a couple of times where you've gone through the details. It's amazing. We have a comment, like you and I, we're kind of doctorish. We come from the medical dental side. How do people approach? I mean, if you'd have gone to your neighbors and you wouldn't have been a doctor, how would you have spoken to them?
Well, initially, I might have used a little bit of my medical background, but I realized down the road, as I've been in this 4 years now, that's not what duplicates. And you can talk the medical talk, but usually people say, well, you can do that because your medical background, but I don't know that, so I can't do this. So that sends the wrong message to all of you out there. It doesn't matter what your education level is. It does not matter. It's about using the tools that have been laid out in front of you by leaders that's gone before me. And, Alan Noble, unbelievable, all the things that he puts together for us. But right now, I would say based on what I'm doing, if I approach my neighbor and they know me, I would just say, I've got something you got to look at. I think this can really help you. And they say, well, what is it? Well, instead of telling you about it, I've got something I've got to do, but I don't want to get into it right now because I don't want to leave something out. If I send you a video, if I send this, will you watch it? And I'll wait for a response. And I say, okay, I'm going to send you this video. It's about 6 minutes. And then there's some little blue buttons on the left-hand side. Watch those because there's multiple things over there. So they may look at something for the spouse or for themselves or for a child or for a loved one. and they'll get more involved looking at those things. But I've had more people stay on realredoxresults.com than any other tool that I've ever used. And they'll come back more knowledgeable and more able to talk, and a lot of them are ready to go at that time. And when I say, when you watch the video, please write down any questions that you have. And then I want to get back with you tonight or tomorrow. What's a good time for you? And I let them kind of pick the time. And when they give me a time, then I'll say, okay, I'm going to put this in my phone right now, and I'm going to be calling you at that time and answering those questions for you. And then during that meantime, after I set that appointment, I call it bam, book a meeting from a meeting. So I'm not chasing them later. I've got that committed appointment. And then I call my upline and do a 3-way call. And when I call them back, I say, let's say, Lee, thank you for watching the video. I know you're going to have some questions. I asked you to write them down, and hope you don't mind, but I have my partner on the phone with me, and I know between the two of us, we could answer any of those questions that I talked about. Instead of saying, hold on, let me get somebody on the phone, they'll go, no, just don't do that. I have them on the phone already. I've never had anybody get upset. And you're doing exactly what you said you were going to do. You're calling them back to answer their questions. So that has been powerful for me. So that's what I use, and I will continue to use that. And then if they say they want more science, then I send them to amazingmolecules.com, and that goes more into the white papers and the double-blind study and the Genesis video, the Olympic videos, the compensation program, so on and so forth. So if they say they want more information, I want to send them to where I want them to watch, not to go out there and look at stuff that's not going to answer their questions. But that's what I'm doing, and that's what I would do if I was starting fresh today. I wouldn't try to approach them on a medical term. Matter of fact, the least that you say, the more powerful you are, because you want them to leave that meeting saying, wow, I can do that. I can call a friend and send a video and then get back on the phone with somebody. And the more elementary you keep it, the faster you're going to grow your organization. The more you talk, it slows you down.
Okay.
Well, we are here to talk about the business, and that was like a 2-hour training in 5 minutes. So that was like a fire hose. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. And I want to come back and ask you a couple questions, Leland, but I also want to get to Mal.
Yeah.
And I want to announce that my wife is at a meeting this evening. So that's why my beautiful wife, Ann, is not here tonight with me. Real quick. Hey, Mal, real quick, share your story. And remember, we have a lot of people out there that are watching this for the first time. And then Lee, after that, then I want you to briefly explain, what are we talking about? What are these molecules? So before that, though, Mal, do you mind just kind of sharing your story, your journey on where you were before, and then how you came about these molecules and how amazingly it's changed your life?
Sure. Thank you. And thank you, Leland. That was awesome. I always get totally inspired by listening to Leland. And the only thing different really between our start was you had the first 30 people say yes to you. I think the first 30 people said no to me.
Me too.
So it's not always going to be the same. So if you're listening to this for the first time, not everybody's going to be like that. You're going to have different results. The key is it's a long haul of business. Don't use initial reactions as a judge to where you can go. Just be resilient, be persistent. So I just wanted to make that, because I know some people that are going to listen to that and think, well, that didn't happen to me. And it certainly didn't happen to me either. I won't go all the way back in my journey, because I don't want to bore people with that. Maybe I just lead into my journey into Asea and how I came about that. My first look at Asea was back in 2014, late 2014. I got a call out of the blue from a good mate of mine called Danny Doyle. Many of you will know of Danny Doyle. And he was struggling with a really serious health challenge. And so a lot of the testimonial evidence that I have for Asea and what it does is because I watched what happened to Danny Doyle and his story. It was just absolutely dramatic. Let me just say that. I know I've got to be compliant on the call, but it was he was dealing with a life-threatening challenge. Let me just say it that way. And he got a call from a friend of his, a gentleman by the name of Bart Cotter, who was in America. Looking at the Asea technology. He was at a fly-in at that stage, and he called Danny and said, look, I think Danny was in Australia at that time, and he said, I think I have something that might help you. And Danny, of course, said, what is it? What are you talking about? And Bart said, look, it's a technology called Redox signaling molecules. You won't have heard of it because it's not available in Australia. sure enough, Doyle had never heard of it. He said, what is it? And Bart said, why don't you fly over to America, meet the owners, meet the scientists, meet the team that are behind this technology and meet the owners. Well, then Doyle, who was at that stage living in Sydney, he called me and he said, let's go to America together. And I said, what for? And I, at that stage, I couldn't afford to go if it wasn't for the fact that Asea initially, paid for Doyle and I to go. I couldn't have gone. I had no money. I'd gone through bankruptcy. I'd gone through, pretty heavy winter. Some of you might be listening to this and on the call, and it was kind of a season of a winter. It was quite a long winter financially. Anyway, I asked him some questions. I said, what are we going to look at? And he said, I don't know. It's called redox something. Redox, not molecules. I said, what is a redox molecules? And he said, I don't really know. Let's go and find out. So I said, why are you calling me? And he said, well, because you've got a health challenge. It's an autoimmune problem that I'd struggled with for 43 years. And he said, let's go and find out about this. And of course, then we went through the discussion. I said, I haven't got any money. So he said, no, let's see, because of your experience in the networking industry, they'll cover our trip over there. So he and I we went over there. And I should say this, that both Danny and I, especially me, I didn't go for business reasons. I mean, Asea hadn't launched in Australia at that stage. I was really there to find out whether this would be a help for a health challenge that I'd had for a long, long time, and whether it would be of some help to my mate, Danny Doyle, who was, really unwell. My condition wasn't life-threatening, his was. So in part, I went also, I think, to support him. And so we ended up in the boardroom with Asea. There was about 45 people in the room. And I remember some of the feelings I had sitting in the boardroom. A lot of the science was over my head. I'm not from a medical background. When I was doing physics at school, I think I got 6 out of 100, and they asked me to leave. And I said, yeah, no problems at all. Because that's not my strong suit. So a lot of what I heard was kind of like, I don't really understand this. But I was sitting next to a gentleman. I introduced myself to him, and he was the atomic medical physicist who stabilized this technology. And some of the things he said was like, wow. He said, one of the things he said, we believe this is potentially the greatest health breakthrough since penicillin. And of course, my old brain was kind of clicking gears, and it was like, wow, that's a pretty big call. That sounds like, the first thing I thought was that kind of sounds like BS to me. And then, as the cogs clicked in a bit further, as they do in your old brain, and I didn't say anything out loud. It wasn't my place to do that. And then I kind of thought, well, hang on, this man's an atomic medical physicist, Mal. What's your qualifications in this area? I thought, well, I don't have any. So could it be possible that what he just said could be accurate? What if what he said was true? And I thought, wow, what if that's true? And of course, having been with the Asea now for 5 years, I've just seen miracle on miracle on miracle with this technology. But don't ask me to explain how that all works in the human body. That's not my strong suit, but I can connect you with people that do know it and do understand it. The 2 other things I remember, I wasn't there for business. So when they started talking about the business opportunity, I was really kind of a little closed off to it because I was involved in another business, albeit one that was not doing well at that stage. But I was still involved in that. One of the key things for me, though, I remember from that meeting was the significance of a gentleman called Vertus Norton. And Leland, you mentioned a video. If you don't know who a Vertus Norton is, watch a little video. It runs for about 13 minutes called the Genesis of Asea. And in that video, you will see the heart of this gentleman, this man called Vertus Norton, who, in my opinion, and I've met a lot of truly amazing people in my life, but he's probably one of the, if not the most amazing human being that I've ever met in my whole life. And I remember sitting in the boardroom, and while my head was saying, you're not here to do business, my heart was saying, Mel, this is somebody you've waited all your life to do business with. I'm talking about Vertus Norton. And so my heart was there, but my head wasn't there. So my head was saying, you're not here for business. And that was really at that stage. This is now October 2014. Danny came back. We both came back from the States. Danny, of course, continued to use the product, take the product because of his condition. I didn't. I wasn't in the right headspace. I wasn't in the right place. But things during 2015 financially went from bad to worse for me. I kind of went from being a rooster to a feather duster. Any feathers I did have, I lost them during 2015. Ended up at end of 2015. I was in a disastrous place financially. So bad, in fact, I couldn't even afford to buy my children Christmas presents. So it was a really tough season. And it was at the end of that year that Danny Doyle reconnected with me. We caught up together, and he showed me the results of him being on the product for a year, and he showed me that he was well. He also opened his back office because he'd been building the business, the Asea business, albeit in pre-launch during 2015. He opened his laptop, showed me what he was making from a business that was still in pre-launch, and I just about fell off my chair. It's like, my goodness, how does this happen? And what have I missed? So it coincided with the fact that Asea was about to launch into Australia early 2016 on the Gold Coast. I attended that launch because I really had nowhere else to go financially. I actually, latter part of 2015, I got my license to drive an Uber. I've still got my license as a reminder. That's what I was thinking about doing to try and generate some income. And then they said, oh, but your car's too old. You can't drive that old thing. It's too old. It was like a 1994 little beaten up Holden Barina, tiny little thing, trying to shovel all my kids in it. And they said, well, you have to buy a new car. So I haven't got any money to buy a new car. They said, oh, well, you can get a loan. I said, I can't get a loan. So that's kind of where I was. And so when I started with Asea early 2016, it was really important for me that I make it work. It's been an incredible journey, you know, from the start. I can't tell you that the first year was super easy because, you know, mostly what I was dealing with was me. I was dealing with lack of confidence emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I was in a pretty bleak place, and I had to work my way back from that. So that was part of that journey. But that's the lead up to how I became involved with Asea starting in February 2016.
Mal, did you have any negative thoughts about this, about networking, or you had been in it for a while? Was it something you had good experiences with or bad? Or how do you handle, what do you say to people that they've been wounded? You know, they chose the wrong company. They chose the wrong technology. You know, the company changed. They didn't work hard enough, or, you know, there's a lot of excuses, but how do you deal with that now? And then Leland, same thing with you. And then Lee, come back and tell people what the heck we're talking about with these molecules.
So that's a good question because there's a lot of people wounded. I was very wounded when I came to Asea. I was very wounded from experiences that I'd had in the industry. I can definitely tell you that I overworked in the first business. I overworked it and was well underpaid. The concept of networking is brilliant. But you have to be on the right horse. We have a horse race in Australia. You have, I don't know, in America, Kentucky Derby. We have a Melbourne Cup. And the analogy I use with people is you'll never win the Melbourne Cup or the Kentucky Derby if you're on a donkey. You can be on the best donkey in the world, but it doesn't matter how fast you whip it, or how fast you want to take it, I'd be on the worst horse and I'll still beat you on the donkey. And I think for me, some of the businesses I was involved with, the two previous networking businesses, the first one ended up being a donkey. And I was thrashing the living daylights out of it, but it was never going to win the race. But because of my personality, I tend to be overly loyal, and I was overly loyal. I recognized for years that I wasn't ever going to accomplish my dreams and goals, but I was just too loyal to the people in my organization and to the company probably. So I had to deal with that. The second company turned out to be an absolute train wreck. I won't mention any names, but it turned out to be a train wreck in as much as the further up that I got, the more I realized I didn't like who was running the company, their ethics, their morals. Let me just say about Asea, if you're listening to this, it's the most, and I use this often, it's the most unnetworked marketing company I think exists on the planet. Really, it's kind of a quasi network marketing company, but it's really almost like a traditional business. What I do is create distribution channels. Yes, it's people to people. It's a people business. The owners are the most incredible people that I've ever been in business with. I don't go to bed at night and wonder if they're doing the right thing. I don't put my head on the pillow at night wondering if Vertus Norton is a man of integrity, honesty, decency. The same with Tyler. And so the blend between, the field and the corporation is just absolutely incredible. These men I trust implicitly. And I think for me, one of the most important things when you're looking at a networking business is who owns the company, because I don't. It's not my business. I can build distribution channels, but I need to make sure that the people that own the company are honorable, men of decency, men of integrity, and have trust in them. That's one of the most important, because you can have the best compensation plan, the best technology in the world, but if the company's owned by greedy people and people that are immoral, I wouldn't go near it with I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. And I understand there's a lot of wounded. I was one of them, and I started attracting what I call wounded warriors. My early group, there was a bunch of them. We were all kind of trying to climb back up together, encouraging one another. Well, one of the guys, my mates, is a triple diamond today. The other one is a diamond today. And we're just we're pigs in mud with Asea. It's a dream come true. And so if you're hurt, I get it, but this is a safe home. This is a safe haven. If you're looking for a safe haven to build a business and leave a legacy for your children, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, this is an incredible home. I'll never see, Leland, you and I will never see another Asea. None of us. I'll never see another Asea again in my lifetime. I know it, and I treat it like that.
Leland, how do you deal with people that have been wounded in the past with their choice of networking? And guys, Leland is in Oklahoma.
Like Mal said.
I was just going to say, Leland, that you do have a little bit of a delay. And guys, that's not because of Texas. It's because of Oklahoma. So just letting y'all know. So he is a little bit of a slow talker, but he's not that slow. Go ahead, Leland.
Well, like Mal said, I had been in 2 other network marketing companies, one years back in my 20s, one that my parents were in, and I didn't probably do a good job. I didn't treat it like a job. I treated it like a hobby, so I couldn't expect a lot, but I didn't do anything for many years. And then I got involved with another network marketing company, I don't know, 10 years ago, and it was a nutritional company. And I had seen it at the Olympic training centers because I work with the Olympic athletes, and a lot of them were taking that product. And I got involved with it and grew pretty quick like I did here, but they had the same issues of integrity and the leadership. It started going south in a lot of ways. It was embarrassing for me with some of the physicians and people that I brought in and got involved with. And so I made a decision to step out, and I made a decision at a time that I would never get involved with network marketing again. Not that network marketing is bad, it's just that I'd had a sour pill twice and had not experienced that with my regular businesses. But let me tell you, this company is different. I've never seen leadership and integrity like I have with the leadership in this company. I've traveled with these gentlemen around the world to different places. I see their hearts, and as an entrepreneur, you have to be careful who you get involved with business-wise. And the older I get, the more I realize how important that is, because it shines on you. I totally trust this company. I trust their leadership. I would follow them, anywhere unless I saw a change. How they treat people, I see their hearts. But more than that, as an entrepreneur, it doesn't get any better than this. It allows me to go out and do what I do best, talking with people. I don't have to worry about running the office and the back office and the company and shipping and billing and all those sort of things that brick and mortar business brings your way. They take care of all of that, and I have the utmost confidence that they're doing a phenomenal job. So it allows me just to go out and focus on what I do best. So I've never seen anything like this. I think Mal's correct. I don't think we'll ever see anything. I don't think I'll see anything else like this in my lifetime. To have a product that it's almost in every major university that I'm aware of that's teaching it. We're seeing it in our local high schools. It's safe. It's native to your body. They're calling it one of the top 5 emerging sciences in the world today and ranking it right up there with the discovery of DNA and penicillin. This is huge. And to see what I see as an entrepreneur, it doesn't get any better than this. And so I just feel blessed to I'm glad a friend brought this to me. I laughed at it and called it snake oil for 2 years because I didn't study it in my medical school. I didn't think it was legit, but it is legit. And it just continues to grow, and I see people's lives changing, and I go with 100% confidence, whether I'm talking to a surgeon or a physician or somebody, it doesn't matter what they do for a living. I talk with them with confidence that we have a product that absolutely cannot hurt them, that only can help them. And why would you not try this first before medications or treatments or other forms of, it's non invasive. So why would you not do this first? And a lot of the docs I work with, this is the first tool out of their toolbox, because if they're getting results with this, they don't have to go to those other places. And so for me, I don't understand why everybody's not running to it at a higher speed. But, it took antibiotics 20 years to hit the marketplace. We're just going into our 11th year. So it's growing quick. The company's growing quick. They're debt free. I don't have to worry about them selling tomorrow as an entrepreneur or getting involved with a company. You build something and then it's gone tomorrow. These guys had an opportunity to sell to Big Pharma, and they said no to Big Pharma and said yes to the people. So they've already turned down what I would call generational wealth, and we have a product with no competition. So as an entrepreneur, it just doesn't get any better than this.
Cool. Thank you, Leland. So Lee, real quick, what's the big deal? Why are we talking about this? Why do we come here every Friday? I think I've been doing it for almost 4 years now. Why are we talking about these redox signaling molecules like this?
That's a great one. Just kind of segueing off of what's been said. If you were sitting in a position where you had to figure out what to do with the rest of your life or what to do for employment, and you kind of put your MBA hat on, your business hat on, and you said, I don't want to go back and reinvent something that has been around forever, that everybody has or that nobody needs, just because there's a lot of cool people involved or whatever. You would be thinking about, where can I position myself to be in front of the next big thing? You're looking for the wave, you're looking to ride the trend, and everything that's been said here is highlighting, we just happen to have a really great company. We happen to be blessed with some great leaders, and we also happen to be blessed with probably the best product that I can think of. And the reason why is because there's 7, 8, 9 billion people on the planet that need it. And redox signaling is a fundamental aspect of every cell in every body, in everybody. It is how our immune systems work. It's the genetic, it's the driving of the genetic code that defends us from our environment and from disease and so that we can detect problems and repair. Redox signaling is really starting in the mitochondria. We make them, Leland talked about them being native. We already make these molecules, but as we get older, we don't make as much of them. They decline as we age. That's why we get wrinkles and gray hair. Sorry, Jim. And that's why, that's why we don't recover as easily as we age, and we don't do it as quickly as we did perhaps when we were younger, is because the signaling mechanisms in our cell structures are not as robust as we age versus when we're younger. And so for decades, we've been talking about healthy lifestyles, about eating right and exercising and sleeping right and reducing stress and so forth. And all of those play on the same pathway. This is the redox signaling pathway. What Leland was talking about and what Malcolm was talking about when they went to Salt Lake, and I've been there myself, and you see what they've done. What we have is a bioidentical redox signaling molecule that's made in an electrolysis chamber that is the same molecules that our mitochondria makes from saline inside the cell. And we can replenish those, much like putting the gas hose in your tank and filling it up with gasoline or petrol, depending on what country you're in. And you can replenish or fill up the gas tank or the cell tank so that it can function as though you were making a lot of these molecules. And the net effect of that, from a health point of view, is that now you can have the gene expression that you need in order to deal with disease and the frailties of aging and so on and so forth. We have a great study at the amazingmolecules.com site that was referenced earlier called the Gene Study Summary. And I would encourage anyone to go there and look at it, and you'll see there's a large handful of genes, signaling genes, that deal with gene expression that turn on healthy pathways that help us to heal better. So that is the foundation that this is all founded on. You know, this isn't some obscure esoteric concept. This is everyday life. We've been living it for decades and decades in terms of antioxidant protection. Asea takes it to the next life. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of the science. It's a replenishing supplement that does for us what we're not doing so much of on our own as we age.
Cool. Thank you. You know, I see a couple of questions in the chat section, and I just want to share my story real quick. I'm an ex-stockbroker of 30 years, and I got a hold of this technology a little over 6 years ago when my best friend's son almost died. And this material saved his life. And I didn't need to see the science. I didn't need to see any of that. But I had one question. I think, Malcolm, you brought that up. Why would Virtus Norton do this? And guys, I was in a bad place. I was 58 years old. And I don't know if anybody else out there can relate to this, but I felt like a failure. I think, Mal, you and I may have had a little bit of that same feeling. I had the looks of success as a broker, even though I wasn't. I had no money saved up. And here I am doing financial planning, estate planning, and I didn't have any assets myself. But, you know, I am so thankful that this is networking. And there's only a couple of names I had to hear in the beginning to validate networking for me, and that was Warren Buffett. And if you know anything about investing, Warren Buffett calls this the single best investment he has ever made. He owns 3 to 6 networking companies. But I am so thankful that our founder chose this pathway to give us the chance, because every company out there is making money. When you go to your grocery store, you go to the home, you go to your office supply company, every product bought, somebody makes income on that. And I think it's unfair that we, the small people, don't have a shot. But, you know, Leland, you and Lee were medical, or Lee is medical. But where else can you go into any industry with a very little investment? And I mean a minimal investment. I would never talk to people before if they did not have $100,000 or more for an investment. And the mass majority of people don't have that. But here, for $1,000 to $1,500 or less, you can get involved in a business. I had no choice. This has given me my financial dignity back, but it's also given me my health back. And so what do you do? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't like networking. And there's a lot of people, and I don't know if you can answer that, Mal, why? Or is it just people that are negative Nellies, what I call negative poo-poo heads, that are negative against anything? But when you can put anybody on a level playing field, as long as they're 18 years or older, and they can make a sizable income legally, it is a legal business. It's not an illegal pyramid. That's what Bernie Madoff did, was an illegal pyramid scheme. We deliver a technology to the market that no one else has, and no one else, I believe, ever will have. If they have a problem with networking, unfortunately, a lot of times I don't have the time now to really discuss that too much, except for in this kind of a platform. But it sometimes bothers me where people are so tunnel vision because they got injured before that they won't look at this model. But, you know, it just breaks my heart. So honestly, what are your options? There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be, when, I don't know what the situation is over there, Mal, but here, you know, the unemployment options are going to run out. And a lot of people right now are sitting back kind of just, you know, fat, dumb, and happy, you know, trying to collect checks. And, you know, that's going to stop at some point in time. Well, what are you going to do? You know, go back to being a waiter or a waitress? Nothing wrong with that. But I want the people that are currently working and maybe working 2 or 3 jobs. Those are the people that I want to talk to because they're hungry. But Mal, Leland, what are the keys to your success? You guys have just set the world on fire, but what are the keys? What can you tell people out there that maybe are struggling with networking? What are the keys to success? Mal?
So that's a really good question. And it's one I often ask myself dealing with the market as well. You know, people are people. People have misperceptions. It's probably network marketing is probably the most misunderstood business model in the world. In my opinion, it happens to be the most brilliant business model in the world. It started its journey. A lot of people won't be aware that in the United States in the 1950s, when franchising started in the United States, many states, if not most states in America, outlawed it. They thought it was an illegal type of structure. So now it's mainstream. Network marketing is just the next generation on from franchising at a smaller scale, a smaller level. And what's amazing about network marketing, it allows anybody, the individual with nothing, like I was 5 years ago, to go from having absolutely nothing to becoming financially independent in a few short years. Let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You know, one of the things people ask me often is, what are my chances of financially succeeding with Asea? And I said, you might be asking yourself the wrong question. Let me ask you this question. What are your chances of succeeding financially without Asea?
Exactly.
Let's deal with that question, because 96% of the population go home to work, home to work, home to work, work to home to work, work to home, home to work. And that's a recipe for nothing. You know, most people do the 40-40-40 plan. They work 40 hours a week for 40 years to end up trying to retire on 40% of what they couldn't afford to live on before. So people don't ask the right questions. Now, here's what happens. I think our business is about people. People move product, products don't move people. So here's what one of the things with people is to try and help them to understand the process of building a business like this, that it's really about personal development. It's about persistence. It's really about setting goals, having a dream, having a vision, having a purpose when you look at building a business like this. And mostly what we do is educate people. What I found in the years that I've been in the industry, there are two groups of people. When you have a glass that's nearly half full, there are some people the glass is half empty and the other people the glass is half full. The people the glass is half full, they're open to discussion and open to learning. The people that aren't, they're not. The people the glass is half empty, it's really difficult to kind of converse with them and help them to understand the process of how network marketing works. And what I found, some people are open to listening and some people aren't. I happen to think that because of the post-COVID world that we're going to go into, increasingly people are going to be forced to listen. They're going to be forced to look. They're going to be forced to look at new options, new potentials. And we have an incredible story of people going from zero to financially independent in a relatively short period of time with Asea. But I think there's a lot of prejudice. You know, the concept of networking started in, I think, the late 50s. And look, a lot of people didn't get it right. A lot of people were nuisances. They badgered people. They did the wrong thing in terms of building it. And so some people have that as a memory of how the business works. You know, one of the things that is important is, you know, you have to have a resilience, but you don't want to be a nuisance to people. So if somebody says no to me, I don't say, look, I'm going to call you tomorrow. I'm not going to do that. But I ask them, would it be all right do you mind if I keep in touch with you and maybe come back to you 6 to 12 months down the track? You know, I've enrolled people into my Asea business that I spoke to maybe 3 or 4 years ago. The timing wasn't right for them. So people's looking zone, they go in and out of the looking zone. And so it's all about timing. I think, Leland, you mentioned that with your case, and certainly that was in my case as well. It's about finding people at the right time. And then really it's about educating people about the journey and the process of building a business like this. There's 3 things that I look for when I'm working with people, because as our organizations grow, our time becomes more important. So there's 3 things I look for when I'm going to work with people. Number 1, do they have a dream? When Leland, all of the 4 of us on the panel, we're building the business because we have a dream. We have a sense of purpose. You know, for most of us, when I came, I'd lost everything. So for me, it was about trying to regain freedom. It was about trying to create a legacy for my 8 children. I felt like a failure, an absolute loser. I didn't want to end my life like that. I didn't want to go out working hard all my life and feeling like a failure. Now, my kids said, you're not a failure, Dad. You just had some setback. but I felt like that, and I didn't want to end my life feeling like that. I wanted to go out feeling like I could win, and I had a purpose, I had a mission. So the number one thing is an emotional dream, reason. If somebody says, I really want to buy a new washing machine, that's not going to fly. It's nothing like that, and it probably won't be a Ferrari. It's more emotional drivers, like emotional reasons to build something of substance. And the reason that you need that is because when you deal with the market, as we all do, you are going to be met with resistance. It's naive to think that you're not. Most people that I talk to, I was on the phone doing a phone session yesterday. A lot of people still say no. Most people still say no. And you will ask yourself, they wouldn't?
They don't say no to you, do they?
Yeah, can you believe it? I mean, can you believe it? The height of them. So, but people think, when you get to a certain level, everybody says yes. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. But I have to have an answer for myself, especially today. Why am I dealing with it? Why am I doing this? And I can't find an answer for that question. Likely, I'm not going to continue to do it. So you have to have a strong emotional driver to deal with the volume of negative. If your brain says, you know what, I don't think this is worth it, I don't have a big enough reason to do it. So number one is you've got to be able to call on your dream, the strength and power of your dream when things get challenging, as they will, especially on your journey to diamond. Less challenging after that because you're getting well paid. And money's good for the attitude. Regardless of what people say, money's good for your attitude. It helps when you're going to get paid anyway. Number two is, are they coachable? Will they learn? Will they learn about self-development? Will they get on the Audible books? I still today do 1 hour a day on my brain, on working on my mindset. Bob Proctor says you create or you disintegrate. I'm not ready to disintegrate. I'm not going to go back. I'm never going backwards. So you create or disintegrate. Whenever you think you're arrived, you'll go backwards. Guaranteed you'll go backwards. Like a tree is growing or it's dying. It's never going to stay in the middle. So create or disintegrate. Work on your mind, your belief, strengthen your resolve, your mindset, your belief every single day. There you go. There's a gift that'll make you a millionaire if ever I could give you one. Persistence on that alone for 1 hour and 3 months, your life will change. And number three, preparedness to do some work. Persistent work over a period of time. You don't need to be a genius at this, but you do need to be persistent. You do need to be resilient and persistent and give yourself time to succeed. This is a journey. This is a process. I find a lot of people want it to be an event. They want to make $10,000 a month by the end of May. It's not going to happen. I watched Leland come out of the blocks at the end of 2016 or 17. He shot past me. I'm grinding away and grafting away. And here Leland comes out of the blocks and left me. But I just kept going. Resilience to a dream. Some people grow faster than others. I was probably slower than most, but that's because Mal had to deal with Mal. I was the problem. And I kind of recognized that. But I was prepared to do the work over a period of time. Be resilient, be patient with yourself. People grow at different paces. But those are really the three things when I'm working with people that I look for. The one thing I can't help people with is a dream. You've got to bring that to the table yourself. You've got to find something within you that powers your journey to build a business like this, because you are going to be met with resistance. Success in anything, you're going to be met with resistance. That's part of what we do.
Wow, Mal, thank you.
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that was awesome. Leland, what are your keys to success, and why networking versus or any other kind of a job? I mean, you said it earlier quite well.
Well,
go ahead.
For me, it's so gratifying, more so than helping do a surgery or put an athlete back on the field for a game or for a season. This is truly changing the dynamics of someone's life. And it's more gratifying than anything I've ever done. And so my why, Napoleon Hill talks about three things: the definite of purpose, knowing your why and having that burning desire to make it happen. Well, for a lot of people, they say, well, I want this, I want money, I want new homes, new cars, I want that jet, for me, it's not about the material things. It's about not going back to where I was. It's what I don't want, kind of like what Mal said. I never want to go back to where I was. And so to have something that allows me a time freedom that I've never experienced in the first 60 something years of my life. I've always been a 14, 18 hour a day guy running companies with employees, first one there, last one to leave. You know, and there's 5 categories that most people are in. There's the blue collar workers. I spoke on that this last week. There's the white collar workers, which more is a working environment in an office. Then there's the people that are in sales. Sometimes sales, you can make a lot of money, but you're still controlled. Then there is traditional business that Mal talked about. And then there's investments. And I have done all 5 of those, and sometimes multiple times. But what I have found is that network marketing is a better business plan than any of those. And because I'd rather have 1% of my efforts than 100%. I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts, or 1,000 people, or thousands now that I'm working with, than 100% of my own. It's just a better way to go. And once I understood what network marketing, I just didn't get it originally when I was first in. I didn't fully understand, nor now do I know. I'd say 90% of the people that are involved with us still don't fully understand what they have their hand on here. One of the greatest discoveries today. They don't understand. If they did, they would just be like finding the fountain of youth. You'd be running out there telling everybody about it. So we have to remember, you know, that Jim, that this is not a race. This is a journey that we all go on. The last thing you want to do is compare yourself to someone else, because that just steals your joy. You know, I came out fast, but Mal passed me up later on. I'm running other businesses, you know, and I don't say this in any way or shape or form to brag, but, you know, for a company to pay me over $1 million in 3 years doing this part-time, where else do you do that for a minimal investment? I've never seen anything like this. I've just never seen anything like it. And, you know, now based on the return, I'm changing my focus, and my plan D is my plan A. And to know that I'm doing something that I love, for the first time in my life, I can spend a couple of weeks up here at the ranch, hunting, fishing. I'm on my tractor. I'm doing 3-way calls or talking to people wherever I'm at. I'm in business with my phone, but I don't have all. I'm in business by myself, but not by myself, but for myself, but not by myself. We have a whole culture of people here that are like-minded, and we're all helping each other grow this business. And never before in any of my other businesses were people willing to spend so much time to help me grow my business. So I really want to pass that on to my team. I'm here for you. We do it as a team. And what I love most now is to watch someone when they first get started, Jim, you, other people, and then watch where they are. Our company talks about believing, belonging, and becoming. And the becoming part is the best part for me, to see where people start and then how they become, and now they belong, and then how they become. And this is really a business disguised as personal development, because you grow personally as you're helping other people. And we have a founder that just helps us keep all of us in line and keeps us about being humble, you know, putting integrity and issues like that before ego and economics. And so I've never been taught so well by any leaders. Tyler Norton is just an incredible, Versus' son is an incredible teacher, and Chuck Funky and our, I'm gonna leave names out. So I just want to, our whole team that brings this to us, I've never seen anything like it. And they're down to earth people. Jerem Webb, all the people that I work with are new people that we're seeing come in. They are spending time and effort to make sure that we've got something that's going to be here for our children's children. And for me, I've never seen anything like this. I'm going to continue to push hard toward it.
Okay, we've got 3 minutes. And guys, this is the fastest hour in Asea. But Lee, real quick, can you please, in 2 minutes, explain why this technology had to come out networking that any other option would not have worked? Can you cover that real quick?
Yeah, when this was being developed at the R&D level, the biotech level, they were actually working on it to be a drug. And when they hit a roadblock with the FDA because they could not make it, they couldn't make it a drug because it was non-toxic. And unfortunately, that's one of the requirements, it seems. To be a drug, you have to have a lethal dose certificate to get a drug qualification. So Vertus came in and saw what they were doing and said, I think you're barking up the wrong tree. I think we need to flip this to the supplement side. This is an incredible story that we had a product before we had a company. This was founded and grounded and based on an incredible technology that creates a new category in the entire healthcare space. This is not a berry, it's not a juice, it's not an antioxidant. These are signaling molecules, pure and simple. They're signaling molecules, never before seen. And so they said, well, how are we going to get it out there? And they started to look around, and they not to belabor the point, but they chose this direct to consumer via networking, because you have to tell a story. One of the requirements that the FDA supplement rules give to us, and this is maybe a good time for us to make a disclaimer, is that we cannot talk about specific diseases. You'll notice we haven't named any. We cannot talk about cures. We can't talk about diagnosis. We can't talk about medical conditions, except in a very abstract way. It's just an FDA rule that and every country has their same level of rules as the United States. Well, but we can tell stories. We can talk to people about how this affects us. And while we can't go produce random controlled trials, which narrow our focus down to a specific disease and requires 10 years and 10 million or $100 million in order to produce the drug, we're now free to be able to address every cell in the body, which affects every condition or every problem that we could have in our body, everything from the hair cell to the eye cell to the heart cell to the knee cell to the skin cell. And so it's a brilliant decision to put this into the marketplace on the back of networking, where we have the freedom and the latitude, and we have the absence of regulatory control that controls its use and dissemination via a prescription pad or a doctor's office. That this is an incredibly, stroke of genius, brilliance beyond all else. We're combining the best of everything, the best product, the best distribution channels, the best networking, the best team that we've spoken of highly. There isn't another way this could have gone out. I mean, they looked at them all. Virtus was a Fortune 50, executive strategic planner, and it's like, you stand back and say, well, if this is good enough for Warren Buffett, well, if this is good enough for Virtus Norton to say that this is the right vehicle, then let's go for it.
Exactly. When I hold up the bottle, it says it's a dietary supplement made from salt water in Salt Lake City. And we're telling you it allows everything alive, not just humans, but plants and animals, to repair themselves. It does sound a little bit crazy. And that's what I thought in the beginning as well. But we all now know that it's true. And so, guys, I want to thank you. This was really, I can't believe how fast this time went. Leland, thank you, brother. My brother up north. And Mal, my brother over on the Big Island. And Lee, thank you so much. We missed my beautiful wife. She's out. She'll be home any minute now, actually. And then I don't feel any sympathy for Maureen Hayes playing in Disney. None at all. But we will be back next Friday. We have a nurses panel. So we actually have 4 nurses. One of them is a PA, or was a nurse practitioner, I'm sorry. So we're going to have an amazing time next Friday. So guys, please come back and visit us. Mal, thank you so much. I pinch myself every day because what we have is real and we get to do this. And there's a lot of negative people out there, and that's okay. They'll eventually come around. Just be nice and courteous and loving and just go share truth. So with that, guys, thank you so much and God bless. Are you sticking around, Mal, for the next one? Guys, stick around for the Aussies. Are you sticking around, Mal?
On this same line?
Yeah. Are you on the next show?
I didn't know that, but I can hang on if you want me to.
Yeah, you don't need to hang on. So, Leland, you're good to go. And Lee, thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let me stop.
Cheers, Leland. Cheers, Lee.